Is the USB-C to Lightning cable worth it for 12.9-inch iPad Pro owners? What is up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? This is Jeff Benjamin with 9to5Mac. In hand, I have the USB-C to Lightning cable and the USB-C power adapter. The power adapter comes in at $49. This is also the same adapter that comes with your 12-inch MacBook. The USB-C to Lightning cable actually comes in with two varieties, one the $25 variety at 1 meter long, and the other the $35 variety at 2 meters long. I definitely recommend the 2 meter long version, as it's the same length of the Lightning cable that ships with your iPad Pro, so you're not going to have a drop off in cable length at all. So here is the USB-C to Lightning cable unboxed. It is noticeably thicker than the Lightning cable that ships with the iPad Pro, which itself was already thicker than most Lightning cables. You're also going to notice that the connector ends are more robust, they're thicker, they're easier to grip. It just feels like an overall quality cable that's not going to fray, it's not going to tear or rip. Feels like, well, it feels even better than this cable here. This is the Lightning cable that ships with the iPad Pro, which in itself was already pretty good, but you can see that this is a higher quality cable. Now let's talk about the USB-C power adapter. Now this, as I mentioned, is the same adapter that ships, well, you can see it right there, the MacBook, the 12-inch MacBook that is. This is the same adapter, so if you already own a 12-inch MacBook, there's no need to pony up the $49 unless you just want an extra power adapter, which is understandable. But if you don't already own a MacBook, the 12-inch variety, then you're going to need to invest in this as well, which makes the overall investment pretty pricey. You're talking $74 to $84 total, but as you're going to see from this test, if you're a 12.9-inch iPad Pro owner, you may deem that worth the cost of admission for sure. So here is the power adapter. You can see it has the detachable plug. It's like a larger version of Apple's 12-watt adapter. Obviously, the big difference here, though, is that it has USB-C input, and of course, it's 29 watts instead of 12. Now, let's compare the two chargers here. You can see that the 29-watt charger is a little bit bigger than the 12-watt charger, but looks very much similar. Obviously, the differences are there, but it does look similar, so you're going to know how to use this right out of the box. Nothing to learn there at all. So you see the inputs. It's nice, though, to have that USB-C input because that is a reversible input. So what does that mean? Well, that means you can insert the USB-C to Lightning cable either way. You can insert it this way, or you can pull it out, turn it around, and put it in this way. So think about this for a second. This is the very first iOS device charging cable that is fully reversible on both ends. That means you can plug in the Lightning cable either way, and you can plug in the USB-C cable either way. I think you'll agree that that's kind of a big deal. But enough talk. How does the USB-C to Lightning cable mated with the 29-watt USB-C power adapter perform with the 12.9-inch iPad Pro? Well, you can see my iPad Pro is dead. I'm going to plug it in and start the timer here, and we're going to let the results speak for themselves. Now, just a little backstory, I completely drained the iPad Pro, so it's completely dead, and I'm going to use the same test for both charging solutions. For the first 10 minutes, I'm going to let it charge with the brightness on the iPad Pro set to maximum. And then for the next 10 minutes, I'm going to turn the brightness all the way down to minimum. And during both tests, I'm going to keep airplane mode on so there's no background network activity interfering or causing battery drain. So, see it's booting up here. And I'm going to actually speed this up multiple times over so you're not waiting the full 40 minutes for this test to go through. You can see the iPad is booted now. Airplane mode is enabled. Brightness is set to max. Let's reorient the screen. All right, so now let's just watch and see what happens. Again, this is the USB-C to Lightning cable mated with the 29-watt USB-C power adapter. You can see about 5 minutes in, I'm about 3%, 4% now. 5% at about 8 minutes, which is really impressive considering we're at full brightness on such a huge display. So 6% at about 10 minutes. All right, so now I'm going to turn brightness all the way down. And at about 15 minutes in, I'm going to check, because the screen's so dark, obviously, I'm going to check and see what percentage we're at. So just let it go up to 15. All right, so let's give it a check. 11% at about 15 minutes with brightness set to minimum. So we're gonna let it go on to 20 minutes and then check at the end at 20 minutes and see where we're at. All right, so we're at 20 minutes. Let's turn the brightness up. So we're at about 14%. And I think if we wait just a second more, we'll go up to about 15% here. But you can see it's about 14%. And that's really good considering that the brightness was set to max for 10 of those minutes. Trust me, if you use an iPad Pro on a regular basis, you know what I'm talking about. Basically, you can't charge it while the brightness is set to maximum with the normal charger. You can see it's at 15% there now. So the 29 watt charger lived up to its billing. That's really how the iPad Pro should have been out of the box. Like, this thing should have shipped with that USB-C to lightning cable and that 29 watt USB-C power adapter. So now we're just using the standard lightning cable. The iPad Pro is completely dead again. And this is the lightning cable that ships with the iPad Pro. So I'm gonna plug it in and start the timer here. All right, so let's see how this performs. One of the biggest disappointments for me with the iPad Pro and the standard lightning cable that ships with it, it's just not enough power. It's just not adequate, but you're gonna see that. I don't have to tell you. You're gonna see that in this video here. All right, so I'm gonna do the same thing, turn off airplane mode, crank up brightness, and let the thing run. I'm gonna reorient the screen. Oops, there we go. All right, so now let's just watch and see what happens. 3 minutes in, still at 2%. 4 minutes in, still at 2%. 5 minutes in, still at 2%. 6 minutes in, guess what? Still at 2%. 7, 2%. 8 minutes in, 2%. 9 minutes, 2%. And 10 minutes, yeah, it hasn't budged at all. It's basically been 2% the entire time. So that's pretty sad. We're gonna turn the brightness all the way down and see what happens then. And in about 15 minutes, we'll check the percentage and see where we're at. All right, so we're at about 15 minutes. Let's check the percentage now. Turn the brightness up, 4%. So we rose 2%. Very good. All right, so now let's turn the brightness back down. Otherwise, it won't charge at all. If you like this video, please leave me a thumbs up and also subscribe if you haven't already. All right, so now we're turning the brightness all the way back up. We're at 5%, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, so there's no comparison there. Seriously, just think about that. 20 minutes of charging. Yes, 20 minutes of charging. And we're only at, yes, we're only at 5%. 5%. So the results speak for themselves. If you own a 12.9-inch iPad Pro, you're gonna have a much better time charging your device and keeping it charged if you invest in these two accessories. Of course, the USB-C power adapter and the USB-C to lightning cable. True, Apple should have included these to begin with, but they didn't. So yeah, another trip to the Apple Store.